we're gonna show you how to install the 2-axis Puppeteer. And in the box we have the roller cage, we have the tilt roller cage, and we have the roll bow and the tilt bow. We also have some new M6 screws and some rubber bumpers and a low height hook. So that's everything that the Puppeteer box includes. To install the Puppeteer on a Ronin, we first have to take away the rubber grip here, otherwise the Puppeteer will flex on the handle. So that's our first step. Simply remove the handle with the two M3 screws that are attached. It might be a little bit stuck because it's Loctited, so you might need some force to remove this one. Once the screws are loose, simply slide off the rubber grip. And what's left is the inner core of the top handle. For the Ronin, we use the top handle grip, and the top handle grip comes with 25mm adapter rings in 2 aluminum brackets, and we also have 2 22mm adapter rings, and those are what we're gonna use on the top handle. We also have 4 plastic risers that we can use to offset the balance of the system or the center of gravity. So to install these two, I begin by simply loosening up the 2 M3 screws on each side of the bracket. Until we can remove the 2 adapter rings. That should be enough. Like so. Take this one out. We take the new 22mm adapter ring instead, and we simply attach these two like so. Do the same on the second one. These mounts can also be mounted, of course, if you have a 30mm aluminum rods without the adapter rings. Then just remove these if you have a 30mm and just use the aluminum brackets right on the 30mm tube. We have a big range of different, the most common carbon fiber tubes that exist on the gimbals. So now I switch to the 22mm. I begin by sliding this one. Might be a little bit tight. So. Slide that one on there. And the second one. Like so. We have about 3-4 centimeters between these two and we mount the Puppeteer. First we want to check where the balance is on the handle. It's usually right above the handlebar in the center. So I just do a fast check, lifting it by my thumb. Yeah, it's right above here in this distance. It may shift depending on how you mount the different accessories, so it's not always right in the center. Take a smaller M3 because it's easier to work with, and I start making so they are a little more grip to it, and doesn't slide around. So when you start feeling some friction here, I simply align it again before I lock it down. So I want to be certain that the tilt bow is facing vertically up, like so. And then I just tighten this. Be sure to be tighten these down equally on each side, so you don't align it all the way down on one of the sides, because then it will be a little bit harder to get it tight as it should. Yeah. Now it's tight. This won't go anywhere. Now I take my tilt bow here, and first I place it without any after spacers between, just to get a feel of where my balance is. And I line this one right in the middle. Then I take the shortest of the M6 screws. It's two M6 6x20, and we use 2 washers on each. So you can see a little bit better. And slide it there. And then I need an Allen key number 4. And I just tighten this down in the groove on the tilt bow from above, until it's secure. We also have a ruler on the side so you can see where in the center it's placed. Now I take my tilt roller cage and I slide it onto my bow and just place it in the middle so it doesn't slide off. And take 2 of my rubber bumpers acting as stoppers on each side, and just tighten it down on each end like so. Now this one can't move from its original place. Now I want to check the balance, so I just lift this from here, and just for the sake of it, I was already in the middle. I will offset this one, just so you can see what happens if you were a little off from the beginning. Let's slide it over. Like so. It would basically drop back or front, depending on where the balance is on your gimbal. So to find the correct spot, if it tilts backwards, in this case, I just shift the offset backwards until it's perfectly balanced in the center. or if it's going the other direction, just slide it the other way. Like so. It's not much different from balancing the gimbal itself. So, little front heavy. Just going to slide it back a little bit more. Yeah, that's better. When we let it go, we want to have the roll cage more or less in the center. Now, take the roll bow. We use the same Allen key, number 4, and we insert. This also have a ruler, either in the front or at the back, depending on how you attach this one. And put the roll cage on top, and use the 2 last rubber stoppers here on the side. There are 3 holes on each side, but you will use the one in the middle each side, like so. So now everything is secure, and I can lift it and see where the balance is. And I see it a little bit on the side here, so I'm gonna adjust this one slightly. Until you're more or less in the center, like so. Now all you have to do is connect your easy rig with the new hook we attached, this one, and you're good to go. If you for some reason have a hard time balancing this, that means that the whole gimbal wants to either flip on each end. It's the same thing when you balance it on the gimbal, where when the weight is, the center of gravity of weight is over the balance point and you just want to tip over, that's when you start using these guys, the distance spacers. And how this works is simply by removing. You always aim for more or less a perfect balance where it doesn't want to go and be either top or bottom heavy, just like with a gimbal. Usually you just use 1 or 2 spacers and you're done. But you have these 2. Put a spacer like so in between. There's a little rounded edge that goes in the bottom, like so. And instead of the 2 M6 20 flatheads, I then use the 2 M6 30 instead. If you had 1-axis Puppeteer, you had a different kind of screws supplied with the grips, but for the 2-axis you use this one instead. So simply change the screws and drop them in, like so. And shift it a little bit where we were before. And there we go. So that's how you use the different risers to be able to have change the different total center of gravity of the system. So if you have a very, very light gimbal, for example, you need more distance. If you have a really bottom-heavy gimbal, you remove the spacers altogether.